It's update news time for you guys. We'll be checking out the brand new tanks coming into World of Tanks console. We've got some new ones coming in next week, as with the usual Tuesday's update. And we're going to be having a look at the update information for this weekend, the things you'll need to know, and the upcoming updates after this next week. So, first things first, we do have to look at this brand new tank that you can see on screen right here, the Teledyne Continental Motors AGS. So this is essentially a light tank within the Cold War game mode. Of course, they're bringing in more and more premium tanks into the Cold War game mode. I would much prefer if they actually invested time to creating actual tank lines to come into the game rather than just spamming loads of premiums that people can pay to be able to get into, but essentially this is a Detente era premium tank, so yes, you will be able to play the top tier. You'll be playing up against things like the M1A1 Abrams and also some of the other T-72 AVs, T-72s and stuff like that within the third era of premium tanks and standard tanks within the game mode. Now, what does this tank have to offer? Well, of course, other than being a very, very novel tank that we've never really seen this kind of turret in, well, it gets pretty much a very average set of stuff coming into the game. So, 50% bonus silver, you've got 25% bonus XP, you've got 10% bonus to your commander XP as well. So essentially it's like a traditional premium tank within any of the game modes, whether that be Cold War or World War II on World of Tanks console. Other than that, we of course have the hit points being 2,750, very average for the era that this is in. It's got 50 engine power, but because it weighs absolutely nothing, the power to weight ratio is 24, which is pretty decent, and you'll actually be able to get up to a top speed of 72.4 kilometers an hour. Now, when you compare that to some of the premiums and some of the actual tanks in the Detente era, it's not actually that fast. Now, don't get me wrong, 72.4 kilometers an hour is fast if you're playing World War II, but considering this is a light tank and it is in the Detente era, that doesn't seem to be that fast. And I guess what you'll have to do is potentially put on some of the speed boost equipment to be able to just actually move away from some of those heavy tanks that can go like this sort of speed anyway. So that's kind of something that you have to note. Now, along with that, of course, you do get a pretty decent turret traverse and hull traverse of about 82 degrees a second. So it's going to take you, what's that, roughly approximately 6 seconds to fully rotate from like 0 degrees essentially to go all the way around in a semicircle or a full circle even. And then you've got 10 degrees of gun depression, 18 degrees of elevation, which isn't particularly the best in the game. But 10 degrees is certainly more than enough for the majority of situations you'll be using this tank in. Now, what I love about this tank and why I think it's going to be a superb, fun tank to actually play is that it is a 9-shot autoloader. Yes, 9 shots, 480 damage per shot. 3.5 second intraclip reload, which is painful. Don't get me wrong, you can't just be pumping out these shots superbly fast, but you have the accuracy, you've got the rate of fire to be able to just deal that damage all in one kind of burst, and especially if you lock someone's tracks down with the first or second round, and then you can just pump them full over the rest of the rounds within the clip, and they're basically not going to have any real competition. And the penetration of the tank is fairly decent. You've got APFSDS, which isn't heat, which means that you can actually penetrate armor of some of those spaced armor tanks that we have in the Detente era of World of Tanks modern armor. Now, penetration values, they're not the best, so yes, you will struggle with some tanks within the era, but for the most part, if you're hitting the weak points of the tanks in the Detente era, and you want to check out my guide video that shows you all of the modern armor weak points of the tanks as of when they released, we're kind of missing some of the new ones in that guide, but hopefully that will give you a good overview as to which tanks are the best ones to go after. Now, aim time 2.1 seconds makes it pretty decent, that's okay. The intraclip reload, as we've talked about, is very long for an autoloader, but then again, as long as you track them in the first shot, you're going to be more than happy to be able to hit them with the second and the third and all the way up to the 9th. So, What is this tank going to be basically relying on? Well, it's the mobility and the gun, of course, having that 9-shot autoloader. So what you want to do is play it very, very stealthily. You want to be an ambusher. Like Wargaming have said, you need to make sure that you have to come around someone at the end of the game, single out your target, auto-aiming maybe on the move, making sure that you only fire when you get the back of their tank. So you want to be circling the opponents that you're going to be coming up against, and you want to make sure that you just are constantly moving. You don't want to stop in this tank. It's a pretty small tank, as you can see. The gap on, I believe that this is the new map. Can't remember the name, sorry. But yeah, the bridge, you can see it's a fairly small tank, and of course the turret being so small that it's going to be almost impossible to really hit that and pen, because it's all pretty much just a gun. Of course, in real life, if it was like real life Wargaming's introduction of this tank, well, you'd just hit the gun and it would blow up basically, and you wouldn't be able to use the tank anymore. But unfortunately for the game, all you do is potentially break the turret of the tank, and it's not really going to affect it too much. Now, as far as whether or not you want to pick up this tank, well, it comes with a skin, as with most of the recent bundled tanks that have come out in World of Tanks console. And so what you want to be doing is purchasing it using this bundle right here, the Teledyne Continental Motors AGS fully loaded. Don't, whatever you do with, go with the primed version unless you 100% want to just use this and don't mind paying 1.7 thousand gold to be able to get approximately a million silver. So costing you like nearly 2,000 gold just to get a million silver. Trust me, if you just play a couple of games with the tank, you'll have more than enough to be able to purchase all of this anyway within just a couple of games, and you'll save yourself probably 6 or 7 quid or whatever it is to be able to purchase that amount of gold. So that's what I would recommend. I think that when they give you these, of course, you don't have to use them, but for the most part, I don't think the Advanced Doom is particularly that useful. Advanced Concealment is only 100,000 silver typically, and Traction System, yes, being expensive, but you might not want to use it on the tank, so yeah, weigh that up. And of course, if you want to just purchase the tank on its own with no skin, with nothing else, then it will cost you 14,000 gold base, but you'll have to wait 2 weeks because it's typical Wargaming with the release of the most expensive bundles first, and then it phases down to the just base tank version. Of course, that's just their methodology in trying to make as much money from the brand new tanks as possible, because it kind of forces you, if you want to purchase it on release, to actually purchase the most expensive bundle, even if you don't necessarily want any of the stuff that they're offering in that bundle. Now, let me know what you think of this brand new light tank. Do you think it will be a good one? Do you reckon the 9-shot autoloader is going to be balanced? Do you think that Wargaming will mess it up? Will it be an armadillo at the Detente era within World of Tanks Modern Armour Cold War? Other than that, let's look at the update news, and I think it's really important that we highlight that right now, as of the video recording and the publishing of this video, there is a 25-hour live stream for a charity event that Wargaming are hosting on their Twitch channel. So if you are available at any time during this weekend, as of the recording of this video, they will be streaming for charity, and any donations you make will go to the charity, to the best of my knowledge. Other than that, let's get into the actual update news. So, last week, of course, we had the challenges. So, for the Monster Hunter, the Chieftain Mark 6, and the Truth Prevails. The Truth Prevail Earn Challenge to get that Skoda T25 skin, 68,000 people completed it within 1 week, which means at least 68,000 people have played the game within 1 week, which is pretty significant. And I guess that, 90% of people, well, not 90%, but probably a vast majority of people didn't even get the skin. So, you're looking at a fairly meaty player base within just 1 week. So I guess that the game isn't as dead as people make out. Moving on, Monster Hunter Challenge ended Tuesday. 47,167 monster tanks were earned, and the most chosen tank was the Revenant, followed by the Lycan, and the third was the Creature. So moving further forward this week, Kinetic Fury Season, 4,400 people have completed it. The Monsters Awaken mode is still going on. The monster drops, 352,000 of them. Centennial Chieftain, 50.6% win rate currently. And November Tank of the Month DLC, Bear KV-122, 850 gold, 3D Premium, and Wojciech Commander for $10. I wouldn't really recommend this, to be honest with you. I think you've got better places to spend your money on the game. Of course, we had the M50 Ontos come in this week, and if you want to check out what that tank can do, then go back and check out my latest video on the M50 Ontos that shows you about what the tank can do and which one you want to pick up. Now, as far as next kind of tanks within next week, of course we have that new Cold War Premium. We've got the Expeditionary Tank, that one we've just talked about, and of course we have Veterans Day next week. With Veterans Day, we've got celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier with a corresponding emblem plus ×3 XP on the first win of November 11th to the 14th. So of course, if you are interested in playing, then make sure you do that and get that triple XP. We've also got Poland Independence Day, where you can earn some tank skins, and an earn challenge where you can pick up the 40 TB Habitcha. You also then get the skins for the 50 TP or 53 TP Markigoskigo. I may have just butchered that. And then the 60 TP Lewandowskigo. So if you want to pick up any of the skins for those tanks, and potentially if you want to grind towards them, then next week will be a particularly good time for that. We've also got the tanks reforged on November 9th, being the Jägeru line. The Jagdpanzeri 100 line is getting buffs, and yes, they are fairly considerable, hopefully, and you'll be able to check those out on Monday's probably video and update news that I will be focusing on this channel, and we'll do that all for you. So if you want to keep up to date with that, make sure that you subscribe if you're not, because it will just let you know basically when I upload those type of videos, and if you're interested, you can always click on them. Now, Tuesday's fix, advanced armor equipment. So if you want, they're basically fixing the advanced armor equipment patch, because I don't know how it's exactly working right now. But yeah, I guess that was slightly broken, not like Wargaming to have some broken things within the game. But yeah, at least they're fixing that. Other topics, of course, we have the tanks reforged after the Jagdpanzer line is the USSR TD line, which will receive armour improvements. So, the Soviets are getting their armour buffed on the TDs. So we'll probably look at the Object 268 version 4, the Object 268 potentially, and maybe like some of the lower tier ones like the SU 122 54 even, and the Object 263. I would expect all of those to kind of get buffs. I know we had updates and upgrades to the Object 268 line, so whether they'll do that again is unknown, but I expect the Object 263 is the one to be the next one within this kind of upgrades, along with the Object 268 version 4. As far as Marks of Excellence, data analysis is ongoing, so they'll be looking to potentially change it back to the original, the second system that they brought in. Now they've put it back to the original, where they look at the actual map rotation and what map you get, and determining how well you played on that map comparatively to everyone else on that map. Because of course, if you get artillery and you're playing on Himmelsdorf, you're going to be a significant disadvantage to be able to get your Marks of Excellence, comparatively if someone got Prokhorovka, where it's a perfect map for artillery because there's no cover, and so you'll do more damage. But right now, the Marks of Excellence, in the simplest sense, if you do 5,000 damage on Prokhorovka, it's the same as doing 5,000 damage on Himmelsdorf, even though the majority of people would probably end up doing 1,000 damage on Himmelsdorf, and maybe the average on Prokhorovka is 3,000, but they're not weighted in that kind of sense. So say if you have, in the previous system, 5,000 damage on Himmelsdorf, it could equate to something like 8,000 damage on Prokhorovka. That's kind of the easiest way I can kind of showcase what that really does. So it's all about which tanks perform best specifically to the map that you're playing. So whether or not that will ever come back into the game, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know my thoughts on it. It definitely made Marks of Excellence easier. But yeah, it should be interesting to see what way Wargaming go with that. Are they going to stick with what they they've currently got, or do you want to see that change back to the specific map? I guess it's actually more about who's actually the best within the tank rather than who got the best run of matchmaking form comparatively to the tank they're playing in the current system. Now, matchmaking. Tests have been successful thus far. Class-based matchmaking is ready to be tested in Super Test to check matches for balanced. If this is successful, a live test for you, all will be set up to gather feedback. So, matchmaking. A big problem within World of Tanks console, whereby, you join up and there's 5 heavy tanks on one team, 2 heavy tanks on the other, then there's 3 tank destroyers and no tank destroyers on the enemy team, and it just is an absolute shambles. And dependent on the map that you get means that you might end up with a load of heavy tanks on your team on a map like Himmelsdorf, where it's predominantly won by heavy tanks. And then you've got a load of light tanks on the enemy team where, they're basically nullified because they're playing on Himmelsdorf in a light tank. So it kind of detracts from the whole point of playing the light tank if you can't use your tank properly. And so you end up with an unbalanced match where certain teams will do better or have a much better chance of winning if they, have the certain matchup that they do. So this is always a good thing, as long as they try and balance this out so that every team gets the correct amount of tanks without taking a long time to be able to queue into the battle, because that's where the trade-off becomes, well, if you want exactly class-based matchmaking within the game, well, then you might have to wait an extra 20 seconds in the queue, and then you get the trade-off whether or not you want to wait that extra 20 seconds every single game you want to get into one. Yeah, it could be painful. Now, moving further forward, commander customization. So, of course, the crew voices, the national crew voices, being able to change what your commander looks like. We'll be looking at February of next year if all goes well. So, February 2022, commander customization may be coming back into the game. They are working on it, so it will be coming back into the game. It's just that the February is kind of the tentative date as to when it will come back into the game. Armadillo nerf has currently led to the tanks still having a 53 to 54% win rate, so it's not done a massive amount, and data will be tracked for a full month before further changes will be considered, and it is still the number 1 tank in escalation era. So even with all of the drastic buffs that Wargaming have done to the Armadillo, it's still not made that much of an impact, and it's still sitting at 53 to 54% win rate and is number 1. So yeah, whether Wargaming are going to continually nerf this tank into the ground till it becomes absolutely useless, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Wheeled vehicles. So of course, Wargaming are going to be implementing wheeled vehicles into the console World of Tanks version. So if you are interested in being able to play those tanks, don't wait. It won't be too long. You'll be able to get your hands on them very, very soon, at least from what Wargaming is saying. We don't know that for sure, but testing ongoing means that at least the tanks are maybe actually completed, and so people are actually getting hands-on with the tanks, which means they're probably maybe a couple or 3 or 4 months away. They've not given an actual date to when they'll be coming into the game, but I will expect that they'll come in during the beginning of a new season within the game, so either season 10 or season 11 of World of Tanks. So in the next couple of months, 3 months, something like that, I would expect to see them within the game if they follow that kind of schedule and if the testing is as far as I thought that it might be right now. Furthermore, Super Test applications for Xbox have been closed on Friday and applications are being reviewed. Any accepted applicants will be contacted next week, and it looks like over 100 players of you will be able to join, and so they'll be contacting you as soon as possible, and then you'll be able to kind of get involved with the Super Test. Cold War British tanks are coming in December, so remember the Cold War British, things like the Challenger will be coming into the game, so that is a big change for the Cold War game mode. It will probably help out with some of these overpowered light tanks that are currently within the game, and so I think that will be a big plus to the Cold War, and maybe you want to get your hands on some of those Challenger tanks and stuff that maybe you've always wanted to have in World of Tanks, but they just haven't come. December's season name has the word British in it. I guess that's with the Cold War British tanks coming in. I expect that the season rank 100 reward will be a British tank, and so if it's a British tank, you'll probably be interested in getting your hands on it. At least I certainly will, being British. So yeah, I'm slightly biased, but for those of you not British, maybe you don't like this and you want to be seeing stuff like the Italian tanks coming into the game, or the German tanks coming into the Cold War game mode, and more of that sort of stuff within the game. Hellfire Pass, looking at early December update, so that will be coming into the actual game. This is of course Scorpion Pass, but the upgraded bigger map version of that, and so you'll be able to play that very, very soon. Communication wheel commands improvements are being discussed at an early stage, and so I don't expect you'll see them for at least 3 months, 4 months, maybe even longer, because Wargaming are just basically stuck this at the very bottom of their priority list. I don't think they're really that interested in bringing this back to the game, even though it would be a very nice addition and it should have been just left within the game after update 6.0, but yeah, it's just one of those bad things that came along with that update. Now, finally, new player training missions are under consideration. Finally, I cannot actually... This has been needed for a long time, and I'm glad that they will be hoping to bring back new player training and missions to be able to teach new players how to actually play the game, because other than going onto YouTube and going to external sources to learn how to play World of Tanks, there is no way of them being able to learn, to get better, and to find the information easy, which will keep them playing the game and so paying more money towards Wargaming. There is none of that right now, and so I think it would be a big benefit to try and maintain some of the player base that they want to keep on the game and just allow people to easily get into the game itself. So I think that this is a big thing for the game, and I think that Wargaming have undervalued how much that the training missions and just the training and being able to learn about how to play the game properly has been underestimated by massive amount. And so hopefully with the introduction of this, we can stay and keep hold of some of those new players that join the game every single day, play it once and leave, because of course it is a pretty difficult game to get into, and I'm sure many of you know that if you've played this for any length of time. It does take some kind of getting used to and being able to really grind through that stage where you feel like you just have no idea what's going on. Other than that, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you want to hear any more update news, then of course subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support it in any way other than just that, you can of course join the channel as a member, which you get a little emblem and stuff. It's not massive, but it does kind of help out with purchasing some of the premium tanks that I have to review and stuff like that, so it's always a really beneficial thing for me at least, and I do thank you all for partaking. I think we've got about 6 members so far, so thank you all for being part of the channel. And of course, if you want to check out some of the other videos that we have available on the channel, guides, gameplay, tank reviews, we've got update news, everything regarding World of Tanks console, that is on this channel. So thank you very much for watching once again, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Goodbye.